Now I would request Sri Mantri Sahu sir to come up on stage. Thank you. So, as all of you know, that today's topic is bail. So, may I request Sri Ashok Joshi sir to may I request Sri Sarat Pradhan sir to deliver the speech, please. Thank you.
Thanks. Respected President on dais, my senior Sri Joshi, and my dear friends. It's a good trend that the bar has developed to initiate seminars on different topics related to law. As you know, the last seminar that we held, the topic was injunction, and today's topic, bail. I'd like to say that today's topic is a setting contrast to the last topic, injunction. Injunction, where the civil right of a person is restrained, it is injuncted. And today's topic, that is bail, the liberty of a person is discussed. So I would like to say that the last topic was restricting some civil right, and today's topic leading towards liberty, personal liberty of a person. Bail means and denotes a release of a prisoner on surety for future appearance. The dictionary meaning of bail is release of a prisoner on surety for future appearance. It has been also described as the temporary release of a person awaiting trial, secured by payment of money or the imposition of special conditions. It has also been analyzed to set at liberty a person arrested or imprisoned on security being taken for his appearance on a date at a certain place with surety, because the man arrested is delivered into the hands of those who bind themselves to become bail for his due appearance when required. The effect of granting bail is not to get the accused free, but to release him from the custody of law and to entrust him to the custody of his sureties, who are bound to produce him to appear at his trial at a specific time and place. Thus, it is a security to procure the prisoner's attendance either during investigation, inquiry, or trial at a given time and place. This is the meaning of bail. So, the history of bail, it dates back to the human civilization, I would like to say. And gradually, it has developed. In ancient India, bail system was prevalent. Kautilya in his Arthashastra has advised for speedy and expeditious trial of the culprits to avoid pre-trial detention. The head of the city was to fix certain amount to be paid for the culprits as sureties and release them on conditions to appear as and when required. This Kautilya has described in his Arthashastra. 13th century, the sheriffs were empowered to enlarge the suspects or culprits on bail for consideration or for a considerable amount to be paid by them or on their behalf. So, gradually, the bail, system of bail has evolved, and now broadly bails are classified into three categories. That is regular bail, pre-arrest bail or anticipatory bail, and third is compulsive bail. The provision contains in section 437 CRPC relates to regular bail. Subject to certain restrictions, a magistrate may grant bail in non-bailable cases under section 437 of the CRPC. The magistrate shall not release the accused on bail if he reasonably believes that the accused is involved in an offence for which death or life imprisonment is prescribed. Secondly, if the accused is involved in a cognizable offence or the accused had been convicted previously on an offence for which death or imprisonment for life or an imprisonment for a period of 7 years or more is prescribed. And thirdly, if the accused had been convicted on 2 or more occasions in a cognizable offence punishable with imprisonment for a period of 3 years or more. However, the magistrate may apply his discretion and release an accused on bail in spite of restrictions if the accused is under the age of 16 years, or is a woman, or is a sick, or is an infirm person. The High Court or the Court of Sessions, invoking its jurisdiction under section 439 CRPC, may grant bail considering the nature and gravity of the offence, circumstances in which it was committed, its impact upon the society, or any circumstances peculiar to the accused. This is what about regular bail. Now I am coming to pre-arrest bail or anticipatory bail. Arrest is an essential step in armory in the investigation officer. Powers of arrest in any system of jurisprudence is an overriding power by the state for protection of social security. Custodial interrogation is inevitably more elucidation oriented than asking question to a suspect who is well consensed with a favorable order under section 438 of the CRPC. It rather, in many cases, comes on the way in the investigation, like leading to discovery, etc. In spite of hope, law comes to the rescue of bona fide citizens, and the object behind the grant of anticipatory bail thus is to save persons from being arrested due to vengeance wreaked by unscrupulous persons and the investigators. The leading features to dictate an order under section 438 CRPC are nature and gravity of the offence, nature and gravity of the acquisitions, antecedent of the accused, including any prior conviction in any cognizable offence, chance of his absconding during trial or inquiry, prima facie satisfaction that acquisitions might have been made to injure or humiliate the petitioner's applicant by arrest. The court should also avoid to maintain equation and strikes a balance between the investigational right of the IO and the individual right of liberty of a citizen. The court should also avoid to maintain equation and strike a balance between the investigational right of the IO and the individual right of liberty of a citizen. Then comes the third category of bail, that is compulsive bail. The legislation intends that the investigation into the offences must be completed as soon as possible and not later than 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, or 180 days as the case may be for different types of cases. When investigation is not so completed and the accused in custody by virtue of section 167(2) of the CRPC becomes entitled to bail if applied for before police report is filed, such bail is called compulsive bail. Compulsively he will be released. For cases under special acts and local acts, jurisdiction of section 4 of the CRPC is comprehensive and exhaustive unless specially prescribed. The procedures laid down in CRPC are to be followed while dealing in the matter of bail in special acts and local acts. There are other provisions related to bail also. There is a provision of interim bail. It is granted interimly for a short period before the hearing for regular bail or anticipatory bail. There is a provision of parole also. Temporary or permanent release of accused convict before expiry of imprisonment for on promise of good behavior. Section 41A of the CRPC is one type of also bail. When punishment prescribed is less than 7 years, the IO may extend liberty to the accused by serving notice of appearance before him at such other place as may be specified without arresting the accused. 436A of the CRPC also prescribes that when maximum period for which an under trial prisoner can be detained, if half of the maximum period, 1.5 of the maximum period of imprisonment has already been enjoyed by the prisoner, then he should be released on bail by the court. There are bail by executive magistrate also. Section 44, Section 81, Section 107, 109, 109, 145 of the CRPC, the executive magistrate can grant bail. My dear friends, bail once granted under Section 437 or 438 or 439 CRPC remains operative unless cancelled under appropriate provisions of law, merely because cognizance has been taken of an offence excessively liable by Court of Sessions, or the punishment is higher than the offence relating to which there was earlier acquisitions. Bail does not automatically lapses. Bail is granted, means granted forever. If it is cancelled, then special reasons must be given. Accused in interim bail amounts to custody. Application for regular bail can be entertained. When somebody is in interim bail, while remaining in interim bail, he can also apply for regular bail. This has been elaborately discussed in 2007, volume 36, OCR Supreme Court, page 60. So this is a sum total substance of bail that we are regularly facing with the lawyers. In spite of the provisions enumerated in CRPC, while we are approaching the courts for bail, we are coming across different problems. For example, when somebody is forwarded under Section 506 of the IPC, it has become a general trend that the magistrates, they are not enlarging them on bail and they are remanding them to the custody. And it has become a practice amongst us that we are also not objecting to it. We are accustomed with the practice of the court, and we are simply telling that since you have been forwarded under Section 506, one day is a must, which should not be the attitude of a true lawyer. What are the ingredients that constitute the offences are to be seen and are to be put forth, and the magistrate cannot say that on principle I cannot enlarge a man forwarded to the court under Section 506 of the IPC. We all know that if we can satisfy the police officer, they do not indict under Section 506, and if we cannot satisfy, then they simply forward them by indicting a section under 506 for which the accused persons are unnecessarily remaining behind the bar. Likewise, in family disputes also, the police officers, investigating officers, they are forwarding the husband under Section 498 of the IPC, and when they are produced before the court As a matter of principle, the courts, they are not releasing the husband on bail. Whatever may be the nature and circumstance of the case, whatever the nature and circumstance of the situations they are in that particular case. They have made it a principle that he is the husband, he should be behind the bar for some days. And by this, the family life is getting destroyed. You can well imagine if on the instance of the wife, if the husband is sent to the jail and later on when the courts they insist for counseling and for reconciliation, the ego hurts, and even if the husband had the intention to take back his wife, he would be reluctant to take it, to accept her. So such things are coming in practice. There lies a great role of the local bars, the Bar Council of Odisha and the Bar Council of India also. Being lawyers, we should fight for those things. If not singly, unanimously you can pass resolutions, we can draw the attention of the High Court and the Supreme Court of India that such practices should be abolished. Then only the purpose of fighting litigations, imparting justice to the public, that will be successful. With this, I thank you all. I think I've been able to enumerate the basic concept of law before you. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Now, may I request Sri Mansi Sahu, sir, to speak about the topic.
Respected President, respected honorable seniors, dear friends, and my dear loving brothers. I think myself as a junior, and as such, all the juniors are my brothers. It is a great opportunity for me to deliver a talk on bail with learned seniors, advocates, criminal gents like Mr. Ashok Joshi and Mr. Sharad Pradhan. It is needless to say a lamb before the sun. Bail is nowhere defined in the Criminal Procedure Code. We the advocates do bail in court every day. So first we shall know about what is bail. Bail is an interim release of accused from legal custody pending trial. It is originally derived from an old French verb, baillir, which means to give, to deliver. These provisions of bail is in consonance with our Constitution, Article 21, which says that no person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to the procedure established by law. Hence, bail is the guarantee that a person arrested on a criminal charge will appear before court as and when required by the court. The primary objective of arrest is to ensure that the accused in a criminal proceeding appears before the court for the conveyance of justice. However, if the person's presence can be guaranteed for the court trial, which without putting the person in jail, it would unfair and unjust to violate a person's liberty. Bail can be granted as a conditional liberty to the accused. The provisions of bail under CRPC dealt in several sections, section 436 to 439. There are also other provisions of bail. The provisions are under section 389, 390, 395, 397, 167 subsection 2 and 81 CRPC. Basing on the time period and circumstance of releasing in bail, it is of three category: regular bail, bail in bailable and non-bailable offence, like under section 436, 437, 439 CRPC. Then second, anticipatory bail, bail anticipating arrest in a non-bailable offence under section 438 CRPC. And third is interim bail, pending regular bail and anticipatory bail, release of an accused. There are also other type of bail such as default bail under section 167 subsection 2 CRPC, bail after conviction under section 389 CRPC subsection 3, bail pending appeal under section 389 subsection 1 CRPC, bail pending reference under section 395 CRPC, bail pending revision under section 397 CRPC. We have also faced another term which is called previous bail, that is continuance of bail under section 441 CRPC. However, these bails, all these bails can come under two heads, that is discretionary bail and statutory bail. In discretionary bail, the word discretion cannot be simple will of the judge or magistrate. It is a sound discretion guided by law. It must be governed by rule and not by humor. It must not be arbitrary, vague and fanciful, but legal and regular. And in the case of granting bail, the decision of judge must be exercised not in opposition to, but in accordance with established principle of law. In granting bail, the judge has to consider whether prima facie case has been or has not been made out by the prosecution, and if there appears reasonable ground for believing that the person accused has been guilty of an offence punishable with death or imprisonment for life, he shall not be released on bail pending disposal of case unless extraordinary circumstance interference favoring the accused. My learned senior advocates, Mr. Sarath Pradhan, has elaborately discussed about the provision of section 437 CRPC. The word may in the 437, in section 437 makes it discretionary, but where the word shall used in section, any other section like 436, it is statutory. In discretionary bail, the court may impose condition if the offence punishable with 7 years or more, offence against state, offence against human body, offence against property, or abatement, conspiracy, or attempt of the above offence. Senior advocate Mr. Sarath Pradhan also elaborately discussed about anticipatory bail. In other words, it is called advance bail or pre-arrest bail. He also discussed about section 439 CRPC, which is the special power of High Court or Session Court to release an accused on bail. We have discussed section 389 subsection 1 CRPC, release of appellant on bail. Section 389 CRPC prescribe the bail at the appellate stage, suspension of sentence pending the appeal, release of appellant on bail. Pending any appeal by a convicted person, the appellate court may, for reason to be recorded by it in writing, order that the execution of sentence or order appeal against be suspended, and also if he is in confinement, that he be released on bail or on his own bond. Section 389, subsection 1 CRPC come under discretion review. Again, section 390 of the CRPC also prescribe another type of bail, that is arrest of accused in appeal from acquittal. When an appeal is presented under 378 CRPC, that is appeal against acquittal, the High Court may issue a warrant directing that the accused be arrested and brought before it or any subordinate court, and the court before which he is brought may commit him to prison pending the disposal of the appeal or admit him on bail. This is also one type of discretionary bail. Again, when there is a revision, that is under section 397 CRPC, the court pending the revision may release the accused on bail. When there is a reference by a court under section 395 CRPC, the court may also release the accused on bail. The consideration of bail in non-bailable offence has been dealt in our Supreme Court in AIR 1962 Supreme Court page 353, State versus Captain Jagdish Singh, in which the consideration in which the Honorable Court may release an accused in a non-bailable offence are: first, nature and seriousness of offence; second, the character of evidence; third, circumstances which are peculiar to the accused; fourth, a reasonable possibility of presence of accused; fifth, reasonable apprehension of witnesses being tampered with; and last but not least, the large interest of public or the state. Again, this is the consideration in a regular bail, but something different in an appellate bail. This consideration has been dealt in by our Supreme Court in AR 1978 Supreme Court, page 429 in Narasimhalu case. The Supreme Court laid down the following 10 criteria for grant or refusal of bail in case of a person who has either been convicted and has appealed, and one whose conviction has been set aside but leave has been granted by the Supreme Court to appeal against the acquittal. First, the nature of the crime; second, the nature of charge, the evidence, possible punishment, the possibility of inference with the course of justice, the antecedent of the appellant, furtherance of the interest of justice, the intermediate acquittal of the accused, socio-geographical circumstances, prospective misconduct of the accused, the period already spent in prison and the prospect of the appeal being delayed for hearing, prospective and curative condition on which the bail might be granted. These are the consideration in bail pending appeal. After discussing the discretionary bail, we have to discuss about the statutory bail. Statutory bail, in statutory bail, upon happening or attending certain condition or circumstances, the accused is entitled for bail under the statute. This had also two types. First, mandatory, and in mandatory bail, where the court has no option other than to release the accused on bail, bail is a matter of right. Like under section 436 CRPC, in which an accused person is forwarded in a bailable offence, then the accused has a right to release on bail. And the word shall mentioned in section 436 made it mandatory. Another section, my learned senior Mr. Sharad Pradhan has also told, 436 subsection 436A and 436 subsection 436A second provision states that when any such person shall be detained in custody during the period of investigation, inquiry or trial for more than the maximum period of imprisonment provided for the said offence under that law, the person shall be released on bail. The person must be released on bail. If he is served in custody for more than the period prescribed for the offence. There is also another provision under section 437 subsection 2 for mandatory bail. 437 subsection 2 mandates that if it appears to such officer or court at any stage of the investigation, inquiry or trial, as the case may be, that there are no reasonable ground for believing that the accused had committed a non-bailable offence, but there are sufficient ground for further inquiry into the guilt, the accused shall, subject to the provision of section 446A and pending such inquiry, be released on bail or at the discretion of the officer of court on execution by him a bond without surety for his appearance as herein after provided. So, under section 437 subsection 2, it is also a mandatory bail. The court has no option other than to release the accused on bail. 437 subsection 7 is also another provision for mandatory bail. And we have already knew about another provision for mandatory bail under section 167 subsection 2, that is default bail. When during investigation, if the investigating officer not submitted final form charge sheet within stipulated time period, the accused has right to release on bail. This is about mandatory bail. There are also some discretionary bail, mandatory bail, which is though not mandatory, but it is directory, where the court ordinarily give bails except upon happening of such special circumstances, like under section 436A first provision. ये first provision है 436 subsection A ର first provision है when 436 subsection 436A mandates that where a person has during the period of investigation, inquiry or trial under this code of an offence under any law, not being an offence for which the punishment of death has been specified as one of the punishment under that law, undergone detention for a period extending up to 1/2 of the maximum period of imprisonment specified for that offence under that law, he shall be released by the court on his personal bond with or without surety. Here the word shall indicates it is a mandatory one, but the proviso makes it directory. The proviso provided that the court may, after hearing the public prosecutor and for reason to be recorded by it in writing, order the continued detention of such person for a period longer than one half of the said period or release him on bail instead of personal bond with or without surety. Another provision, that is section 437 subsection 6. Section 437 subsection 6 mandates that if in any case triable by magistrate, the trial of a person accused of any non-bailable offence is not concluded within a period of 60 days from the first date fixed for taking evidence in the case, such person shall, if he is in custody during the whole of the said period, be released on bail to the satisfaction of the magistrate. Subsection 6 of section 437 mandates that the accused is facing a trial of magisterial trial. Secondly, the accused is facing a trial for an offence of non-bailable offence, and he is in custody for 60 days from the first date fixed for hearing, taking evidence. He shall be released on bail. But the last part of the provision makes it directory. The last part is unless for reason to be recorded in writing, the magistrate otherwise direct. Another provision also 389 subsection 3. 389 subsection 3 we have when the convicted person satisfies the court by which he is convicted that he intends to present an appeal, the court shall, where such person being on bail is sentenced to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 3 years, where the offence of which such person has been convicted is a bailable one and he is on bail, order that the convicted person be released on bail, and the last part makes it this directory, unless there are special reason for refusing bail. Another provision is also under section 81 CRPC. Now, the consideration of allowing a bail and the consideration for rejection of bail are two different things. What are the consideration to cancel a bail already given? The provisions of cancellation of bail dealt under section 437 subsection 5 and 439 subsection 2 CRPC. My learned seniors have also vividly discussed about the bail, and now I conclude my talk in this regard. Thanking you all.
Thank you so much, sir. Now may I request Senior Advocate Sri Ashok Joshi, sir, to deliver his speech. Thank you.
Good afternoon to you all. Honorable President, Honorable Senior Members of the Bar, junior friends and my colleagues, bail is a matter we are all interested in. But certain things has been enumerated in the law and certain things has not been enumerated in law but in practice. When we are talking of bail, we should remember that it is our fundamental right subject to condition of other laws. That means we are at liberty to move hither and thither, but if we commit an offense, then we are under any of the provisions of law, we can be detained in custody. That may be police custody, that may be judicial custody. But before discussing bail, we must remember that what sort of offense a person has committed. If we will look into the schedule of the CRPC, it has been clearly mentioned the offences which are bailable, which are cognizable, and which are not bailable, which are triable by the magistrate, which are triable by the magistrate first class or sessions judge. Moreover, before asking for bail, we must be prepared by consulting the various provisions of law, ingredients of the offences, and then we should make out our argument that we are not coming under this offense or that offense, and we should seek bail. Under section 436, it is a bailable offense. It is bailable, but supposing a person has committed a bailable offense, he is supposed to be detained by the police or court. There, the police, it is the duty of the police to offer bail, that you have committed an offense which is bailable and you can go on bail by producing any surety. In that event, supposing a poor person doesn't have any surety or money to pay as surety, in that event, what the police will do? The practice is the police forwards him to the court because he cannot produce bail. It is the solemn duty of the court to allow him to bail, and if the person is unable to go on bail by producing surety or by producing the money for the bail amount, then in that event, after the court will declare him as an indigent person and he can be released after 7 days. If for the long period of 7 days, if he is unable to give surety. These are the provisions of 436. Both the learned friends, they have discussed all the matters regarding the bail, so I shall not go into those things. But I would like to say that what is our role as an advocate for bail? What is our role? Friends, when a police is forwarding an accused person, he is basing all his knowledge on the FIR lodged by the party. And In practice, we are not looking into the FIR. Simply, we are mentioning the section and we are approaching the court to release on bail. What we should do? We should first see the contents of the FIR and the 161 statement, any statement the court, the police has sent with the accused to the court, and there we are to decide whether these are coming under these offences or not. We are doing it mechanically, simply writing a petition, bail petition, and seeking the mercy of the court. We are simply asking for the mercy of the court to release our accused on bail. What happens? Once, as my friend was telling about 506 case, the court said that I have made it a principle and one day he has to remain in custody. There, I have to show the honorable court that who has been intimidated under section 506. I said, sir, the accused has been intimidated by the party who has lodged the FIR. The court was taken by surprise because the court also generally they do not go through the details of the FIR and all these things. There I showed that Mudala mote mari debi जीवनरे मारी देवी बोली कहूथबारु मोर भय हैला किंतु आम घर लोक पळै आसीबारु मुदाला दौड़ी दौड़ी पळैला. Now this is a circumstance which I have come across. There who was intimidated. The accused has simply said that I will kill you, but he has not killed. The family of the informant came, and out of fear the accused ran away. So here the accused has been intimidated, but he has been forwarded under section 506 for criminal intimidation. And the court is telling that I have made it a principle because he has been sent under section 506. So I will keep him for one day. Don't press. I will keep him for one day. So such situation arises. So why I am quoting this example? As because we should look into the FIR, we should find out the ingredients are available in the FIR or in the 161 statement of the witnesses. Then only we should move for bail. This is one aspect. Secondly, when question of bail arises, everybody knows that the court has discretion. The court has discretion, but what sort of discretion? It is only judicial discretion. Because the court doesn't like the face of the advocate, he will say that no, I will not grant bail. Or because the court sees the accused and says no, he looks like a gunda, so I will not grant bail. No, he has to go through the records, the papers, and then he should make out his discretion by applying his judicial mind, which are rarely found nowadays. I am sorry to say that nowadays we are rarely find such judicial discretion while granting bail. Secondly, when question of anticipatory bail is coming, everybody knows the CRPC has clearly stated that it is the High Court and the Sessions Court. They have the power to grant anticipatory bail. What in practice we are seeing, we find that simply the petition filed before the Sessions Court is rejected. No ground, no nothing, simply rejected. No, will not grant, you go to approach the High Court. So for a bail matter, maybe the client is a rich fellow, he can go to the High Court. But what about poor fellows? We are here to serve not only the rich people, but also to the poor people, the indigent people. That is why I said from the beginning that in law and in practice, there are two types of bail we are getting. Now, as my friend was telling about 120 days, 60 days, 90 days, about the compulsory bail, what Munshi Babu was telling. You will be astonished to know that the police have been informed by court people that your days are complete and you file the charge sheet. And the police will come running with a piece of paper wherein he will seek the extension of time for filing further charge sheet. And if the paper filed on the very day will be examined, it is not in consonance with the charge sheet or the final form. In many instances you will find that it is not in consonance with the charge sheet as enumerated in the law. So what happens in many times, out of anxiety to get our accused out on bail, we forget certain things and we do not look into these things. As you all know, I was a prosecutor for a long period, and I have seen what sort of mistakes the prosecution or the investigating agency commits. So if we will have a good mind and we will apply our mind to the facts of the case, to the papers and all other things, certainly you will find that there are enough material for an accused to go on bail or to be released on bail. The personal liberty of a person is always solemn, and everybody demands it, everybody needs it, rather need it, the personal liberty. So bail is a weapon for us, and if you will apply it properly, then certainly the person will be entitled for bail. Now, certain dictums are also there of the Honorable Supreme Court and other high courts, but we are not looking into it. Interim bail, supposing somebody is in interim bail and some new offense has been added, the court says that no, you will not be allowed bail because your bail was under section this, but now a sessions offense has been added, so you have to remain in bail. You see that up to Supreme Court somebody has fought, and Supreme Court has said that no, once a bail is always a bail. It may be an interim bail, but he is on bail. Another thing I would like to say that when somebody is going for 39 bail and the accused was previously in interim bail, then what is his position? Position of the accused. The position of the accused is, if he is under interim bail, the accused is in, it will be